Hey everybody, welcome to the Daddy
Daughter
Dance. My name is Tobin Walsh. I'm a top parenting blogger. You can check out my work at goodbaddad.com, but more importantly, the young lady that's gorgeous, beautiful, smart, and talented that sits to my right in our big fancy studio is my daughter Viviana. Say hi to the people of Vivi.
Hey guys.
So we started a new thing on our podcast where we're talking about things that make Vivi curious. So Vivi, what do you want to talk about this week? Hurricanes, all right. So just so everybody knows, if you're not aware, Vivi and I live in Florida. So we, at this time of year, have to be pretty concerned about hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
So from about June till about, I'd say October or November is characterized as hurricane season. But this isn't just a Florida topic.
Nope.
Because why do you think other people that listen to us or watch our show would want to know about hurricanes?
Because they might live in a place that they, like, it can be any place. You can have hurricanes any place.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking is, so of course, you know, we used to live in the Midwest and we didn't really particularly have to worry about hurricanes hitting our stuff, but if you have family that lives in places near the coast, whether it's west coast or east coast,
you get worried.
Yeah, you would be worried. And I think when you give people a little bit of a flavor of what goes on during a hurricane and the science behind hurricanes, they can appreciate better why it's such a big deal to the people impacted, right?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, think about after a hurricane comes through, there's a bunch of help needed for people. And so if we give people an idea of what it's like to be in kind of a hurricane zone, maybe they'll be more apt to donate money or supplies or be supportive of people that help after a hurricane, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's start here. So Vivi, let me, if you give me the opportunity to be kind of a dork. All right, dad dork time. Let's talk about the science of hurricanes. So what is a hurricane? Did you research that?
Yes, I did.
Vivi is getting her copious notes.
Hurricanes are very strong thunderstorms with lightning, thunder, but they're involved with a very bad thunderstorm. There's very strong winds, and how winds pick up. Well, we're not there yet.
Yeah. So basically, the recipe for a hurricane
is a very long storm with lots of winds, strong winds.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it develops over like warm water. That's why this time of year, when it's summertime, the waters get warm and it's the atmosphere really gets fired up, right?
There's more likely a chance to.
Right. So these storms can be in the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. They can travel north. They can travel into the Gulf of Mexico. So they can be anywhere that we're on the coast. So I mean, it's pretty pervasive how much it impacts now, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk. So that's the science of hurricanes. So if you want to learn about kids or parents, if you want to tell your kids about hurricanes, the National Weather Service actually has a very pretty heavy website. So I'd encourage you to go to the National Weather Service's National Hurricane Center website. It'll tell you more than what you want to know about everything to do with hurricanes. It also directs you to some local agencies and things like that, hurricane forecasts, things like that. Any other things about the science of hurricanes, or actually like what is a hurricane? Vivi's so busy trying to read through her notes.
I know which one's which at least.
Well, let's talk about this. So let's talk about so the names of some hurricanes that come to mind. So the hurricanes over time, right? So Vivi, did you look at any other big ones?
Yeah. So
what one did you find?
So I found two. One that actually happened in Florida in 2017. Hurricane Irma hit.
Hurricane what?
Irma.
Oh, Irma. Okay.
It was in Florida.
Yeah.
Harbor, Tampa.
We'll talk about that one in a little more detail later.
And then we have 2017, and another 2017 hurricane was Hurricane Mary. And that hit in Puerto Rico, USA, and Virgin Islands.
What year?
2017.
Okay, yeah, 2017 was pretty active. I remember that one. That was the one that, I mean,
hit
leveled Puerto Rico, right.
It was level 5.
And I think that it was one of these ones where basically they're still rebuilding. I mean, they were out of power for months and months, right?
Yes.
So
it was very bad.
The other ones came to mind for me. So the other one that came to mind for me was Katrina.
Oh, Katrina.
Have you
That
heard
was
of
in
Katrina?
2000 something.
I think it was
Or
2000.
and Hurricane Matthew. I saw that too.
Yeah, that was Hurricane Matthew.
Was bad.
Yeah, I saw the list. So the list of costliest storms, number one was Katrina. You know how much money? What do you guess? So costliest storms in terms of the damage that it brought.
Millions.
Oh boy, 161 billion.
To rebuild everything.
Yeah, mind blower, man. Right?
For insurance.
Yeah, everything. So all the damage it caused, all the infrastructure needs, all the support
Katrina was
needed.
level 5.
So Katrina was the one that went through New Orleans, remember? I think it was in 2005.
I wasn't alive.
Was it more recent than that? Maybe, I don't remember, but Katrina was a massive game-changing hurricane. And we're in the Tampa area, and there's stories that say initially they thought it was gonna hit around here somewhere. And then right at the last minute, it took a fortunate turn for Florida north, unfortunately for New Orleans though, right?
Yeah.
Tons of devastation. If you Google that sometime, Vivi, or the kids that are watching at home, oh man, we learned so much from that. They built levees, they rebuilt neighborhoods. It was really bad deal.
I saw a picture.
Really bad deal. Now that was 161 billion, right? So let's start there. That's the most costly. Don't cheat. My notes also say that Hurricane Harvey was second. What do you think that was? They're all over
$1 million.
Vivi, they're in the billions.
Oh, they're all in the billions. Okay.
125 billion.
I didn't even answer the question.
And lastly, and this is an interesting one, my bad. I'll let you answer this one. Well, don't say a million again.
I did it. I said it's over $1 million.
Okay. Well, then the last one. So Superstorm Sandy, which is
Superstorm Sandy.
That's what they called it. That hit in New Jersey. So it's not always Florida, it's not always Texas, it's not always New Orleans that gets hit. Sometimes they travel up that East Coast and people get nailed up north. And Sandy was interesting. As I remember it was fairly recently, and it was in New Jersey. And they don't call it Hurricane Sandy because before it was a hurricane, and then all of a sudden when it came on shore, it was a tropical storm. And so basically the winds lessened, but it just sat there forever and just dumped rain and rain and rain and rain on people. And it caused, guess how much damage? It's in the billions. Money? Yeah.
Okay. Is it the most?
No, third.
100.
Okay, 71 billion. I don't want you to think about it too hard. $71 billion. And the reason is the location is because it's really valuable stuff that it wiped out. The whole coast of New Jersey was basically wiped out. But they had to rebuild and things. But that was a devastating one. So you had Katrina hit New Orleans. Harvey was a Florida hurricane. And then Sandy, which is a New York one. So you can see that they're all over the place. So we all should know a little bit about hurricanes, right? Did you do any research about how they characterize hurricanes in terms of how big they are?
No.
You didn't? Okay. Just so you know, so if you
gave me a question, so I answered all the questions.
Okay, well, let's throw a new one at you. Just so you know, you can be the smartest one in 5th grade. Okay. Well, so when you hear a newscast about hurricanes, they almost always talk about categories of hurricanes. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So category 1 through category 5. Tornadoes have a different scale. They're like F1 through I think F5. So they're the same. It's the same principle, different categorization system. So, how would you guess they judge the category they give a hurricane?
Of how bad the winds are.
Oh, good one. Nice. Wow, she didn't even research it. She got it right. So it is based on sustained winds and the likelihood of damage.
That's the main part of a hurricane. If there wasn't strong winds, it would probably just be a really bad thunderstorm.
Good point. So, what do you guess a level 5 starts at?
Strong winds.
Or what's a category 1 hurricane starts at 7? I think it's 60, 70 miles per hour winds. So Hurricane 5 is the strongest. What do you think that starts at? It's 160 mile per hour winds, and they go by about 20s. So there's 100 difference between those two. So every 20 you add a category. So Vivi referred to, so does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So category 5 is quite big. Katrina was a 5. I think it was one of the only 5s to ever hit land as a 5.
No, but then...
It was huge, right?
And was it Hurricane Matthew?
No.
Maybe.
I don't know. I didn't research much about Matthew.
Wait.
But another hurricane
Yeah.
that you mentioned in 2017 that we actually lived through in our area was Irma.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk with the people a little bit about our experience with Irma. This is no research required. This is just Vivi and I off the cuff here, because I think it's important that people kind of understand
Like
how to
what
live
if
through
they
a
get a
hurricane.
hurricane?
Right. Not even if they live through a hurricane, but if they see hurricanes
Yeah.
happening, what families are going through, because it's pretty scary.
To understand.
So in 2017, we had been here a couple years by now, and I remember I went to work on one morning, and then in the afternoon they came and said, "Hey, we have to leave," and I was like, "What's going on?" It was like sunny and beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "We're being evacuated from the area where I work," and so I went home and I was kind of laughing. I was laughing, and I called my wife, and she goes, "Yeah, school's shut down." So like, what's your recollection of those days?
Well,
Like when they first announced that everything was going to shut down.
the last day we were at school till we were off was like at the end of the day, they just suddenly announced like there's a hurricane coming. It's called Hurricane Irma, and we can't go to school.
Yeah, it was
It
like
was
it was
really
real
weird.
sudden, right? Like everybody didn't
It
know
was
what
like
to do.
like one thing you were doing something else, and then another we were like hurricane's coming, move.
Yeah, and it was weird because we were fairly new to the area, right? So we had never really.
2-3 years.
And Tampa has been pretty. If you go through history, Tampa's been fairly lucky in terms of if hurricanes have hit us. So we knew about this. So how the weather works locally here, and I'm sure where you guys are listening from, is about a week and a half before they start saying, "Hey, we're watching this storm develop. We'll see what happens." And then as it gets closer and closer and closer, and I started to freak out, right?
Like a couple of days before like the hurricane formed, it was just like light showers.
It was nice. It was like a
It was,
normal
like,
Florida
sunny.
summer, hot,
Yeah.
soupy.
It was like at the beginning of the year though.
It was really the weather didn't indicate that anything was happening, but then all of a sudden, so the way it works is then they start to kind of do those models where it says it might go here, it might go there, it
Yeah.
might go. So there was a point at which I thought, oh, we're just gonna have a week off of school and work, cool, party on, right? What? And then that kind of fell apart because all of a sudden they got pretty serious and they said Tampa was gonna get nailed. Now
But we went to Tampa.
So what did we do in preparation for that happening, baby?
So-
Do you remember?
I think we went right to the store because we knew everything was gonna get sold out. So we bought tons of water,
Yeah. So
canned food.
all right. Well, let's talk about. So that's right. So one of the
Well,
biggest
we went
things.
to the store.
Right. So one of the biggest things people in hurricane impacted areas or potentially hurricane impacted areas do is they load up on supplies that if those aren't available during the hurricane or after, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
So give us do you have an idea of what you would get? What did we get, or what do you remember?
Well, one thing to get prepped for a hurricane, like I had a little sticky note about this.
Yeah.
Is like you want to make sure everyone is safe, like animals, humans.
Yeah, that's a good point.
everything.
Pets, yeah.
And then you might want to box windows. We didn't, but
Oh yeah, I forgot.
we could.
We closed. I remember I batted down, I closed we have an outbuilding, a
'Cause
shed.
we weren't
We
even
did that.
here.
Did we cover windows?
No.
But there's a lot of houses did cover windows. We were worried about trees falling on the house. We had a lot of trees
It
down.
wasn't so bad,
Yeah.
as we expected when we came back.
And then as far as going to the store, so one of the things, so water was a huge problem.
Oh my
around here.
gosh.
Oh my
yes.
god. There was nowhere to buy water. So all of us dorks that didn't know what we were doing and waited too long, we were fighting everybody for water, right?
Yeah.
And it's not only that.
Because if
Yeah.
your power went out, you couldn't get water from the refrigerator.
Yeah, and so
and
we.
the sink.
And it's not only that you need water before, but afterwards too. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
appreciate that afterwards things were still shut down. So the way it laid out for us is, I think that pretty much that whole week we were pretty much off work and school.
Yeah.
And about
The week
what did you say?
af-
Half of the people we knew kind of left town.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
week after, we didn't really have school, for a half a week. But then when we went back to school, it was all fun stuff.
Yeah, it was
because
almost like a
we
weird
were just
break.
talking about the hurricane.
Yeah,
and stuff.
but let's get back to as we were going through it. So one of the things I would talk to people about is if you decide to stay. So about half of the people we know, I'd say, decided to stay, and it got pretty scary, although the Tampa area was really lucky. It came on shore about a couple hours south of us, so we got just a horrible thunderstorm.
We went to our cousin's house.
Yeah, we went to our cousin's house just to have company. The only thing I didn't appreciate and I didn't understand going in was the impact afterwards. So like I said, we spent the night with Vivi's uncle and her cousins, and then we came back home the next day, and we were lucky. We didn't lose power. But around
we had all our power, but around our house was the sticks.
Yes.
A tree was about to fall down on our house.
Yeah, so we had just a ton of cleanup, but no structural damage. But man, the thing that got me was how many people didn't have power for a long time afterwards.
But we did it. We had power the whole time.
Yeah, so I guess the lesson learned there is not only do you have to prepare for a hurricane as it's coming in terms of water and going to the store and having food and backup generators and things like that, but you always have to almost prepare for like at least a week after.
Yeah,
because there's no gas.
You might also want a radio.
Yeah, radio, yeah. So there's like no gas deliveries, like gas was at a premium here. There still wasn't water. The stores slowly opened after a few days, but a lot of them didn't have power. And so it was like one of these things, if you didn't have food, there wasn't like there was a restaurant open.
Yeah.
Nothing. So it was really interesting, although we were pretty darn lucky, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
But
could have been a lot worse.
So if you're at home and you're not in a hurricane zone, and you're wondering, you know, how can I help or what can I donate in times where people might be in hurricane zones, you know, I was thinking to myself, I wrote down a quick list. Water, number one, obviously. Yeah. Canned food, Vivi's mentioned. You know, flashlights and batteries.
Yeah, that's what I wrote too.
What else do you have?
I have water, canned food. Maybe a cable cord. I don't know.
Yeah, can openers. I have
games.
Yeah, clothes.
Clothes, yeah.
Phone chargers, things like that. Like any way to get power. Flashlights, yeah.
Family.
Yeah, but honestly, or you know, you can support. The other thing too is a lot of times during these big catastrophic instances, they need people that have donated blood, because if other people got hurt or the hospitals are in need, because that's the thing that nobody understands is that everything is interrupted. Like when the highways aren't working, when you know, so all the people that evacuated also had to get back, and so it was just big traffic jam everywhere.
It took Tampa's like an hour away from us. It took like 3 hours to get home at least.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Although we got very, very lucky. I was very we were fortunate. Scary. Yeah, it was scary for a couple of days. But so I guess Vivi, we wanted to talk about hurricanes for a couple of reasons. Number one, everybody should check out, even if you're not in a place that has hurricanes, you should check out some information about them, because there are a crazy phenomenon of the atmosphere, right? Yeah. It was kind of interesting to see what they were all about. And then secondly, I think it does help to understand exactly
what people are going through,
right? You know, because when we're out in Florida, we can never understand when there's a big snowstorm up north, but we should be aware of it because there's people that are struggling through it, and if we could help, let's do it.
And if we know about it, we get what they're going through.
Exactly. And these organizations that end up helping people during hurricanes or natural disasters, they always are in need of help. I mean, whether it's clothes or blood or whatever, they're always looking for people to help them out and step up. So don't forget about it. So again, just to recap, Vivi, do you remember when hurricane season ends? We're right in the middle of it.
October, November.
Yeah, October, November. And that I think the lesson we need to learn ourselves is we need to start building our preparation kit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not scary. It's just more about, so you don't have to worry when it happens. And you don't have to fight people off at Walmart at 2 in the for water, right?
People were there like camping out.
Ooh, it was crazy. All right, so anything else left to say, or should we wrap it up?
We're good.
Okay, well, thank you for joining the Daddy
Daughter
Dance. Have a good day, everybody. See you later.